I see we are now live. Awesome. For those of you that are waiting, we're waiting with bated breath for this meeting to start that isn't part of the committee that is watching remotely. Thank you for your patience. We had some technical difficulties and looks like we're good to go. So I'm going to call this meeting to order of the WECM Advisory Committee. That's the Workforce Education Course Manual Advisory Committee on March 31st at 10:14 a.m. So thank you everybody for being here. Some housekeeping before we get started. I'd like to ask Dwayne Hiller to give us some general housekeeping rules on these virtual meetings and handling ourselves. Thanks, Dwayne.
Okay. Good morning. As Robin just noted, we are being broadcast live and we are being recorded. So we ask that you keep your mics muted when you're not speaking, because any background noise kind of shifts the attention away from whoever is speaking, and it kind of causes an audio glitch. And when you are speaking, please keep your background noise to a minimum if possible. We ask that you use gallery view so that we can see everybody's face at all times, and keep your cameras on at all times. This is a requirement of the Open Meetings Act. We need to make sure that a quorum is visible at all times. We will take votes by voice vote. If there's any confusion, we will switch to a roll call vote. But in most cases, the voice vote is sufficient. If you have a question or want to raise a point, there's a raise your hand feature that you can use in this environment. And please be sure to identify yourself when you're speaking. Sometimes it's hard in the sea of faces to know exactly who's speaking at a certain time. And other than that, I guess we're ready to start.
Thank you, Dwayne. Before we get started, as usual, I'd like to do introductions of the WECM Advisory Committee members, as well as the coordinating board staff that are supporting us and supporting this initiative. So because the gallery view people move around and change, I'm just going to use a list that I have of the members and go down. And if for some reason my list isn't accurate and I skip you, please let me know. Please just introduce your name and the college you're from. I appreciate that. Mary?
Good morning, Mary Adams from Texas State Technical College.
Thank you, Mary. Rob?
Rob Blair, Dean of Technical Education, South Plains College.
Cynthia Kasparis?
Cindy Kasparis, Vice President of Academic Affairs at Angelina College.
James?
James Chegwin, Associate Professor and Department Chair, Tarrant County College.
Troy?
I don't see Troy on this.
Yeah. Rhonda?
Rhonda Dozier, Texarkana College.
Linda Head? Linda? She might not be able to hear us. I see her, but I don't. She's not.
Let's go on. I'll try to contact Linda outside the meeting environment. Linda, if you can hear, we're not able to hear you.
I don't think she can hear us. Okay, we'll move on. Dwayne Shaw.
Dwayne Shaw from Kilgore College.
Olga. You're muted.
That's right. Olga Valerio, El Paso Community College.
Joe.
Good morning. I'm Joe Arrington. I'm Director of Human Services Education Programs at McLennan in Waco.
Sarah?
Sarah, me or Sarah?
Sarah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Is it my turn?
Sarah, yes.
Sorry, I just logged on.
Okay, perfect timing.
State College Orange. I'm the Director of Community and Workforce Education.
Thank you. Cindy Griffith.
Good morning, Cindy Griffith, Alvin Community College.
And I know Dr. Nicotero is not able to attend. Tom.
I'm Cox Chair of Languages at San Antonio College.
Dixon.
Dixon Bailey, Executive VP, Ranger College.
Andrew.
Andrew Gregory, Program Coordinator for Drafting and Business, College of the Mainland.
Kevin.
Good morning, everyone. Kevin Morris, Dean of Business and Technology at San Jacinto College South Campus.
Sarah.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Sarah Lozano, Dean for Business, Public Safety, and Technology at South Texas College.
Thank you. Leslie.
Leslie Keeling Olson, Temple College.
And she's the professional organization of TACRO. Christina. Oh, that's right. She was not going to be here, right? Gaston.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gaston White. I'm the coordinator of articulation and transfer services with Tarrant County College.
And you're our TACRO representative, correct?
Correct.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mindy, do you want to introduce yourself and the coordinating board staff?
Good morning. I will call upon coordinating board staff to introduce themselves in a moment. I'm Mindy Nobles. I'm in the Workforce Education Division, Assistant Director, Career and Technical Education. And I will go to Dwayne Hiller to introduce himself.
Yes, I'm Dwayne Hiller, a manager in the Workforce Education Division. I work with the WECM, some Perkins, and mainly workforce education programs.
Okay, very good. Stephanie Perkins.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Perkins. I'm a manager in the workforce education area at the coordinating board, mainly handling Perkins and other workforce matters.
And Sherry Rannis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Rannis with the Workforce Education Division. I work with the Reskilling funds as well as Perkins.
Thank you all. And I want to acknowledge the presence of Valerie Carrera, who is managing our meeting in the background. She is our colleague in workforce education as well. And I want to acknowledge Kyla Torrey, who will give an update on OER. Kyla works in our newly created digital learning division. I believe I've caught all staff except for Dr. Tina Jackson, whom Robin will introduce in a moment.
Thank you very much, Mindy, and thank you to the coordinating board staff for supporting the WECM Advisory Committee. I really appreciate it. We all do, all the work that you do. Well, of course, Mindy just mentioned, I am very, very honored to introduce Dr. Tina Jackson. She's the coordinating board's assistant commissioner for workforce education. We've heard from her before, and every time she speaks to us, it brings good information and wonderful news, and I'm hoping. And we'd love to hear an update from Dr. Jackson. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garrett. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you all. Oh, wow. I always love to share good news. So anytime I can share it, I'm trying to do so. I'll start out by just saying that there's a lot going on at the Capitol, and it's all related to workforce development. And I just can't say enough about how excited I am just to hear the buzz about the importance of really making sure that our students get appropriate support. So I just wanted to share a little bit. I'm actually double dipping because, as many of you all know, the Senate Committee on Higher Education is meeting right now. So I'm doing a little bit of double dipping, but I will share with you all that I'm following Senate Bill 994 and also Senate Bill 959 and then also Senate Bill 1295. And I just want to encourage you all to do the same. These are all Senate bills that really support student success based funding for our workforce education continuing education pathways. And so that's important work for all of us. And also it supports the industry certifications and really looking and responding to the needs of what we see with occupational education certification. And so I just can't say enough positive things about that. I was telling colleagues, and we've talked a lot over the past few weeks about how can we make sure that we're being really specific and intentional about the needs of our Texans across the state as it pertains to workforce education. And so one of the questions that I've been asking myself is how can we support the changing landscape of workforce education, which includes fast tracks to high value credentials. So as we talk today, colleagues, I just want to continue to remind us that we must think about how we can change the landscape of how we do work so that we can fast track more students towards industry certifications that really speak to the needs of our industry partners. They're telling us that they need people who have the skills to do those jobs that are here. And it looks like we've got a lot of planning to do moving forward. So definitely just want to say thank you to all of you. We know that the need, there's a large population. The low-hanging fruit is the students that are out there that stopped out for some reason and have some college or no college degree or credential. And so how can we help them to get back in college? And we know that financial aid is critical for that journey. So please do pay attention to the bills that I mentioned. I'll just share them again. Senate Bill 959 and Senate Bill 994, and then also Senate Bill 1295 are three that were we heard from so far, and there are others, of course, that are out there. There's another Senate Bill 1102 that's another one that's on that's moving forward. And so check out what's going on. And I know some of you all know the landscape. We are definitely paying attention to how this is all playing out, because it will, of course, really look at and help us to visualize where we need to head as far as pathways work, as far as stackable credentials for higher education, and most definitely as far as our workforce needs for the immediate transition out of the pandemic. So thank you so much, colleagues, for all the work you're doing, and let me know and let the team know how we can help you. Another question that we really have been talking about, especially as it pertains to reskilling, is how can we support colleges, two-year colleges across the state to prepare for what we know is headed our way? And how can we make sure that if you need support with up-to-date curriculum, how can we make sure that that happens in a timely fashion? So as we talk about WECM and some of the renovation that's going to be happening, how can we make sure that we're fast tracking resources that are connected to the needs that we know the industry is asking us for? So with that in mind, I just leave those questions on the floor. I'm excited about the work and excited to serve as your Assistant Commissioner of Workforce Education. And as I have more information, I will be excited to share that with you all. Have a great meeting today. I will be here, but I will also be double dipping, just so you know. And I'm excited to answer any questions that any of you may have for me. Thanks so much.
Wow, Dr. Jackson, I need to learn how you do that. You're listening to two things at the same time. Wow, that's impressive. Anyway, thank you so much for your information and the kind words about us and all the work that you do at the coordinating board to support our institutions across the state. So thank you, Dr. Jackson. Appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and approval of the minutes from the December 9th, 2020 meeting. I hope all of you have had an opportunity to review the minutes. I believe they were sent out earlier this week. And if there's no discussion on that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move approval.
Second one.
Second. All in favor? Any opposition?
Aye.
No opposition? Motion approved. Thank you very much. Dwayne, did we receive any requests for public testimony to address this advisory committee?
No, we have not.
We have not. Wonderful. So we can go right past number 4 then. Thank you. Number 5, coordinating board update. Perkins, GIPWE, Senate Bill 64, Cybersecurity Pathway, Texas Reskilling Support Fund, and OER Core Elements Academy. I believe that starts with Mindy.
Well, and Mindy will introduce our team to give updates in their specific areas. I'll begin with Stephanie Perkins, who will give the Perkins update.
Good morning again. So we just have a few items to update everyone as far as Perkins is concerned at the coordinating board. So the coordinating board received from TEA unused Perkins basic funds from FY20 in the amount of $4,081,284. Those funds have been reallocated to colleges, and the last of the executed NOGAs are being transmitted now. The Perkins Leadership RFA has been released. The Perkins online portal is scheduled to be open April 2nd for pre-proposals. Coordinating board staff are currently working on the Perkins Basic RFA, which will be released at the end of May. And last, Perkins Basic Orientation will be held in early June, as usual, virtually. Once a date has been finalized, we will send a field notification out to everyone. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Stephanie. Dwayne will give us an update on the GIPWE update.
Sorry, trying to get through all my screens. We might have mentioned before, I just want to reiterate, we're going through the GIPWE guidelines at this time and updating it with certain areas that we've received email comments over the past couple of years. Items that we're currently looking at include updating the references to the Texas Skills Standards, which the Texas Skills Standards Board got absorbed into the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWIC, Texas Workforce Investment Council. So we're updating the references to their website. We're looking into the advisory committee's requirement for meetings every year and looking into the possibility of allowing virtual meetings to count in that case. And their general education, we used to have a little note that says some courses may not meet SAC's requirements for general education. I think that was removed in the last edition, but due to some comments, we're going to put another note back in there with that statement. There's updates on the TSI math requirements in associate degrees and level 2 certificates that don't require math in the curriculum. We have updates on how program graduates are counted in like number of associate degrees and number of certificates that a student may be awarded. We've had the exemption to the 60 semester credit hour rule for several years now, but it's never been in the GIPWE. So we're going to put that list of exempt programs in the GIPWE. And there's some clarifications on the advanced technical certificate. Again, requested by a college in stating that the prerequisite is a bachelor's degree or at minimum junior standing in an approved baccalaureate degree. We're also looking at updating the new program procedures. We currently have like the list of requirements for a new program, but there's really nothing about how to actually submit an application and when a short application or a long is allowed or when a long application would be required. We're defining POS and clarifying or updating references to clusters. And then we're also going through all of the glossary items to make sure they're up to date. And we're reviewing SAC's COC documents and CB rules to see if there have been any changes in the past 5 years that affect workforce education. And again, this is a team. It's currently me and Sherry Rannis. We're going to be extending it to the rest of the agency on different areas, including college readiness and financial aid and funding. and then we're going to be putting it out for comments. So I just encourage you, if you notice anything in the GIPWE that needs to be updated, send me an email and we can add that to our list of reviews.
And thank you, Dwayne. I'll go very quickly to Cybersecurity Pathways and just give you a short overview. And I'm looking for slides that I'm not seeing. Let me just begin telling you that our Cybersecurity Pathways work group is based on the report that came out of the 86 legislatures, SB 64, which required the coordinating board to work with Department of Information Resources to develop a report on ways to incentivize development of cybersecurity credentials, certificates, and degrees in the state of Texas to meet that rapidly expanding workforce demand. The report to the legislature included 4 recommendations. This Pathways work group is responding to the 4th recommendation, which is to create a secondary, post-secondary career pathway by which high school students may find smooth transition through Cert 1, Cert 2, Applied Associate, and into a career position. That work group has its work underway. It's expected to complete it by the end of July. And we will keep you updated on that as we go. Now, next, I will introduce Sherry Rannis, who will give you an update on the Texas Reskilling Support Fund. Sherry?
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to see if I can share my screen. Does everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Hope so. Okay. I'm here to just briefly update you on the Texas Reskilling Support Fund grant program, which has been in development and then in place since last fall, 2020. The support fund funding is part of $175 million that GHECB was given through the GEAR program in Texas, the Governor's Education Emergency Relief Fund. We were allocated $46.5 million in support of reskilling. The purpose of these dollars is to support displaced Texas workers who need to reskill and upskill and get quickly back into higher education and out again with a post-secondary credential. And this particular grant program covers students' tuition and fees for those who are pursuing credentials of value in Texas. Wanted to provide you with an update on the status of this program right now. We have gone through 2 rounds of competitive grant awards for this program for a total of 65 awards that have been made as of early March. 62 Texas institutions are participating in this grant program with a total of 5 consortia of institutions of both 2-year and 4-year institutions, which we're very delighted to see. At this point, these awards will support around a minimum of around 18,000 students when these funds are deployed through round 1 and round 2. We're very excited about the fact that this degree of participation and this many students may be supported through this grant fund. It's ambitious, it's complex, but it's exciting. Yesterday, we held a grantee meeting for the first time, actually, of both round 1 and 2 grantees. I think a number of you may have been on that meeting, Zoom call. And we are moving forward quickly with support for the institutions who are briefed to be able to support, as I said, about 18,000 students through these 2 rounds of grants. We're anticipating that we'll be doing additional activity through this reskilling grant money. And so that's TBD, and stand by because there are hopefully some exciting news ahead about being able to support even more students through this grant fund. And with that, I'll just close. Thank you. See if I can stop sharing. There we go.
And thank you, Sherry. And I will say last but never least, let me introduce Kyla Torrey, our colleague in digital learning. Kyla will give an update on the Open Educational Resources Core Elements Academy.
Thank you, Mindy. I'm just gonna try to share my screen. Hi, everybody. I'm Kyla Torrey. I'm the program director in digital learning, which is a new division of the coordinating board that was launched this past November. And I'm just going to talk about our Core Elements Academy for Open Educational Resources, which is upcoming this summer. This will be a 3-session course with some practice activities in between, which is basically just an introduction to open educational resources and open pedagogy. We'll talk about evaluating and curating OER, and we'll talk about authoring and remixing OER. So it's sort of an academy for those who are interested in entering the OER space. We'll go over a lot of the foundations of OER work. This should start May of 2021 and go into the summer. And it's meant for faculty, librarians, and instructional designers. So we'll be sending out a registration link relatively soon, so keep an eye out for that. I also just wanted to mention briefly that in the OER Techs Academy repository, which is our OER repository for Texas higher education, we do have some courses that are specifically linked to the WECM course inventory. So you'll see there's a course inventories box here where you can search, and you can search directly for courses that are linked, or materials that are linked to WECM courses. And we hope that there will be more moving forward, and we're counting on some of you to help us with that. So keep an eye out for us coming to you with those requests as well. The OER text repository, there's the URL, and my email is there as well if you want to get in touch with me, and I'm also happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Kyla. Any questions for Kyla or any of our updaters in this section?
Mindy, all of this is very directly related to this advisory committee, but as far as the cybersecurity pathway, what do you feel the next steps after your team completes? Would there be a need for us to review courses or anything like that moving forward with this?
Good question, Dr. Garrett. Potentially, yes. This committee will design a secondary, post-secondary pathway that will, become a curriculum that colleges and their constituent high schools may adopt. We will create that from existing program of study pathways, secondary and post-secondary. It may involve recommendations to modify or even create new WECM courses. Once the committee has made its recommendations, relevant committees at both the coordinating board, that would be WECM primarily, possibly ACGM, and at TEA, will then look at the course recommendations and follow through on those. That will be the final step before putting that cybersecurity pathway out there for adoption.
Thank you.
I wanted to add, oh, I'm sorry, Robin.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Linda.
I wanted to add that there are currently pathways, and Mindy, I think you're referencing that, from high school P-TECH to community college to applied baccalaureate degrees. And today is testimony by some of the college CEOs in regard to adding additional baccalaureate degrees for community colleges. So we'll see how that goes after today. But love Chairman Robin Garrett to get us involved in that as a subcommittee of this committee, because it's so important in Texas. And the second comment is totally unrelated. I just wanted to say to Sherry, what an excellent, and Tina, what an excellent presentation yesterday. to go over the details and the questions of the grant. They were spot on with all the information they gave, and those were our questions. So we appreciate the time that it took to really listen to what the questions were and put in very specific responses. And Sherry and Tina, both your style, you speak slowly, succinctly, calmly. It was really very well received. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
Well, kind of relating to what Linda just mentioned, that was going to be my question as far as the pathway to baccalaureate degrees. Yes. Is there any, rather than an applied baccalaureate, is there any foresight into a regular BA or BS?
Well, I can say this, that is one of the recommendations. That is outside the bounds of this committee. This committee is working strictly on that CTE career pathway, secondary to post-secondary. And so there are reskilling needs for the cybersecurity workforce. There is the need to have more cybersecurity baccalaureates, but that work is underway and will be continuing, will be starting in other venues. And before I yield the floor, let me speak to Linda's point that there are PTAC cybersecurity pathways out there. Yes, indeed, there are. In fact, we have specialists in pathway development who have done PTAC cybersecurity projects on this committee. This will be a statewide curriculum for adoption. The existing ones are regional committees between specific colleges, or pathways between specific colleges and regional high schools. This will kind of be a generic state curriculum that can be adopted and adapted by any college and its constituent high schools.
It looks like it kind of almost marries with the transfer work that's being done also. So we'll see how all this merges together. Thank you very much, Mindy. Any other questions for the coordinating board on these presentations from the advisory committee? All right. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for the updates. I appreciate that. Okay, we're now on to the professional organization updates. I'd like to start with Leslie on the TACTI update. Do you have anything for us?
Yes, ma'am. We are extremely excited because we are a week away. So hopefully this time next week, you will all be joining us as we are in the middle of special sessions. There's 3 special sessions. We have a Perkins, we have a WECM, and we have a leadership special session to start the conference. We have coordinated with VFairs, so hopefully you'll like the online platform that has a little bit of an omni feel. So maybe it'll make you feel like, although you are sitting in your office or sitting at home, that you might be experiencing the omni some way, somehow. So anyways, of course, next Wednesday and Thursday, if you haven't registered, please register ASAP. Registrations close Friday, so you have a very, very short window. And we are really excited, and definitely a shout out to the conference planning committee, but a shout out to the coordinators who have been Kelly Townsend and Dwayne Shaw, who've done the lion's share of trying to put together a virtual conference. So we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Leslie. Always a very, very good conference, and I'm sure that this will bring more people to be able to attend since it's virtual. I hope anyway. Good. And the work that's done, I'm sure Dwayne and who else did you say was?
Kelly Townsend.
Oh, Dwayne and Kelly have been struggling and working hard to make sure this worked well for all of us. So thank you both. Christina for TACE is not here, but is anybody else on that committee? Could somebody give an update as far as when the TACE conference is and any kind of registration? Does anybody know that information? No.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the registration. Just go to tasteonline.org to look at their website. I do know that so their session is the week following, and it's April 14th through 16th. And we'll be doing a WECM 101 presentation at that conference also, and that's at 2:30 on Wednesday afternoon.
Thank you, Twine. Gaston, any updates from the TACRO?
Good morning. I do not have any TACRO updates at this time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Gaston. Thank you so much for being here. We've missed having the TACRO rep, and we so appreciate your attending and supporting the efforts that we are doing to bring new rubrics and stay in compliance with the state, and you're going to help us through all
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. As many of you know, there's a grant for the WECM renovation project, and we have two representatives from that grant here with us, Catherine O'Brien and Leslie Keeling-Olsen. And I believe Catherine is going to give us an update on the work of that grant and the subcommittee that is supporting that grant.
Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone. Let me make this go. Can you see my screen okay? Okay, thank you. I'm Catherine O'Brien. I am the consultant for the WECM renovation grant, and several members of your committee have been working with us as a steering committee. I wanted to say at first we were calling the WECM Advisory Steering Committee, and that got to be a little confusing. So if you hear the term WECM Renovation Steering Committee, it's the same group, but again, we've kind of renamed it a little bit. First up, there's a little bit of changing terminology between what we used to have and kind of how we're working through this now. And I was asked if I would kind of quickly explain. In the old system where we would do the come together in the WECM workshops, you might have a workshop with as many as 7 to 8 teams, all in physically different rooms reviewing the courses. As we've been working through this, the term workshop and programs for this grant has kind of become synonymous. And also, and I'll show you as I get into one of the examples in just a minute. Another thing is that in the old way of thinking, the Model 1 were the really big workshops, the ones where you might have 7 allied health programs coming together in a workshop, but then the teams would be like vocational nursing, ADN, search tech, lab tech, and those would be your programs. As we have started analyzing the data, what I have done is I'm kind of calling the Model 1s the very large workshops, and the Model 2 are the ones with only 3 or 4 colleges. They're still going to have workshops, but this is just kind of for now my designation. This may change. I see that y'all have protocol discussions on your agenda, so I will keep my terminology aligned with yours if you make any relevant changes to the protocols, okay? So here's just an example. If you'll notice, I'm saying that we have one Model 2, which is El Paso College, then a second Model 2 under Cluster 5, and it consists of Northeast Texas Community College and TSTC. Then there's a third Model 2, which only has 2 colleges, and a fourth Model 2, which only has 1 college. And again, that's why I'm designating those as individual colleges, or I'm sorry, as Model 2s. If you jump down to FITT in the SIP 31.0501, then there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colleges, I guess, listed under there. But if you look down right below that, There is also a sports and fitness administration management offered at Collin County Community College. Again, they're reviewing the same rubrics. So instead of them being a Model 1 over here all by themselves, we're moving them up to combine with the other FITT group, and also for that one with Delmar. Hang on just a second. Okay, we're moving it up. So really what it's done is it's combined some of those who would be like one lone college out there by itself. And so they're all looking at the same rubrics here. And so if you allow me, I will jump forward again. And this was the, oops, let me go back one. No, I guess it's not there. The original organization of this that you guys gave me called for putting 5 clusters in this first year, followed by 3 clusters the next year. What do we have? Several more clusters after that and after that. So we're going to a 4-year review of the different clusters. The one that I just showed you was the cluster 5. And so you really only end up with like 1 major workshop and then 4 minor workshops. Okay, so that's our taking a look. So these are the Model 1s and the Model 2s, all kind of broken out. They will all get a review, but again, I just have them broken out based on sizes of the college. Okay, and if this is what you gave me originally as a group, or I proposed to you, I'm sorry, and then you told me that law, public safety down there in the 3rd year, and this is the old one from like 2014 to 2017. You said that law, public safety probably needed to be moved up, and there were some other ones that we moved up and moved down. Okay, so at one of our previous meetings, this is what you approved, was to have cluster 3, 11, 13, 16, and 12. However, that creates 51 workshops that we should finish by August of this year, and 26 more workshops that we would also have to do. My suggestion for you today to kind of reorganize this a little bit is cluster 3 is arts and music and communication. But one of the rubrics that it has in there is ARTV. And you also see ARTV in cluster 2, architect and construction, because this is where drafting is. So I was going to seek your permission today to move cluster 3 down to that 3rd year, unless you think there is something really, really important in art and music that need to be covered in this 1st year. And then the other one was cluster 12 has paralegal, court reporting, corrections, criminal justice, law enforcement, fire protection, and public administration, which is really like Homeland Security. Does that cluster need to be reviewed this year, or can it be moved to another year as well, perhaps 2022? And that would reduce our number of workshops as we're trying to work through this process from 51 down to 26, 32 workshops that we would have to do.
Catherine, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, I remember that there may have been a trigger for the RTVB, and if that's the case, that's probably why we looked at having that cluster soon. if necessary, we could do just one area from within cluster 3 if we needed to. Go ahead and move the full cluster down to 2023, and then it would get reviewed again, or we could pull that out of the review. But I think we need to consider some of the triggers that may have caused us to think that that one needed to be put up in the more recent review cycle.
Okay. Robin, one of the things that should happen is that a letter goes out, and it does, from the coordinating board asking programs if they need to be reviewed. One of the issues I think that I've heard discussed, within the steering committee is they go out, but the communication is not coming back. So if your recommendation is, yes, let's look at the RTVB in cluster 3, then by all means, we can send the notification out to those colleges which are offering, those courses in order for them to go through a workshop. And again, that would reduce it by 10 just by doing that. And we could move the rest of cluster 3 down to maybe year 3.
And was the other one you were recommending the law of public safety?
Yes, yes. Are there any triggers that you are seeing? And I guess this falls to your special topic local need subcommittee. Is there anything that they have seen that says that we need to do this one sooner rather than later?
We can do 2022.
Olga?
I think so. We can do in 2022, like you say, Catherine, because we haven't seen it too much about that one, especially because you say it's Homeland Security, and actually it's Homeland Security.
So
to clarify,
TACRO
there will
hasn't
be
changed anything?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, there will be a report in the WECM comments subcommittee
Right.
about a trigger on that.
Okay.
But like you said, we can pull out that specific program and go ahead and review it now.
And so the security from cluster 12 probably needs to remain in 2021. Okay.
Yes, but it's like a Dwayne and Robin mentioned, maybe you don't want it to move. You can remind, but also because the amount of the work and everything that you have it, just to move the area that you can move, that one is going to facilitate and do, a better data analysis and everything. And just the feel, the same that you have it with drafting, that you say is that the rubric belongs to architecture and construction. Maybe you wanted to do that because we have a trigger in the other areas. Just move the field. That one maybe will be facilitate your work. That's my suggestion. I don't know the rest. What do you think, Robbie?
Yes, we can. We definitely let's move them, but consider any triggers within them that might need us to address something sooner.
And I wanted to let you know, if you're looking down at year 2023 and you're seeing that all of cluster 7 is struck through, the reason for that is because it is, that really was Homeland Security. And they had it under public administration instead of in the law and public safety. And since it was the only model that would have to be reviewed in that, we slid it up to 12. And that's the one you're telling me may need to be, we'll go ahead and keep it there, but we could move the rest of the law and public safety to another year. And if you're looking at, the entire column there of workshops, you'll see that year 2 with the health sciences, that's a big chunk with 24 just for those alone. And then down in year 4, there's only like 13 workshops. So I was trying to redistribute these a little bit so we don't have so many in one year and then very few in like year 3, for example. Okay.
I have a question, Catherine.
Yes, ma'am.
So the coordinating board, of course, has those colleges that have those related programs and courses in inventory right now. With COVID, I'm just making a professional opinion, and you all may disagree with me, and you're welcome to it. But I feel like every college is developing new, modifying. There's a lot of attention, of course, on workforce credit, non-credit right now, to try and get employer retention, employer attraction in Texas, and more importantly, to get people back to work. So is the coordinating board also reaching out to all colleges saying, if you're in development mode right now and you're planning on submitting a program, you might want to attend the workshop or participate in the workshop? And is there even a way to do that so that colleges aren't spending time putting together a program over here when these workshops are happening, and the course, the program plan, the program pathway, all of it, we might come out with a different recommendation statewide?
This is somewhat outside of the purview of the grant, because what the grant is really about is review of existing courses, not new course development. But having helped Alvin develop 2 new programs over the last couple of years, I will tell you that, in the analysis that I did for them, I go out and look and see which programs in the state are already offering those programs and those courses. And then I kind of do an analysis of which are the most commonly used courses within that program. And so, rather than going out and grabbing a course that's maybe only used by one college, I look at all of the colleges, and Dwayne helps me with data on which colleges are using, which courses. And again, I select from the most popularly used or most commonly used courses.
Sure. I'm just wondering, as we're setting priorities here, we're only looking at current inventory, not at what people might be working on.
Right. And Linda, in the past, what we've done as far as calling for instructional specialists, it went out to the field. So and remember, we're talking about the course level, not the program level. This isn't a program of study. So if we call for instructional specialists and Lone Star is in the process of developing something and you see it, you could nominate an instructional specialist for that opportunity to serve. Does that make sense? Good.
Yes. Yes.
That's correct, Mindy? That's still our process?
Yes, it is. And let me just make a comment here. Linda makes a good point. This goes to the field being in the loop, as it were, understanding how WECM works now that WECM maintenance through workshops is going to begin again. Understanding how critical their involvement is, and understanding that they need to keep their ear to the ground, just as coordinating board needs to make sure that information is out there. And I'm just going to say this, it's going to be a process, and we discussed this extensively. We have lapsed knowledge and awareness in the CTE field across the state of WECM maintenance, and the field's role in that maintenance. It's happened for a couple of reasons. For one, workshops kind of went dark for a few years, and that's something we're trying to come back from and doing energetically. Field training really did not take place. We're going to have begun to do that earnestly. TACE, I believe, just had field training, and TACTI will next week with a opening session. Then with the beginning of the workshops, again, we will have widespread field involvement, as people respond to nominations. That said, it will not happen all at once. Now, for those who might have programs under development, how to make sure every college, every department across the state is fully aware of this is just going to be a bit difficult. We don't have a comprehensive list of department chairs. I'm not sure we have a comprehensive list of workforce deans and vice presidents. So how to accomplish that is part of the challenge. I'm certainly open to recommendations.
Mindy, one thing, I was going to say before I sign off is, number one, anyone involved in CTE needs to know where the comment button is on the WECM page. It's right up at the top, so that if they are seeing a trend, if they know that accreditation has changed and they need to update those courses, it's the field's responsibility to notify the coordinating board for that. And then also, number two, in terms of communication, I know that Dwayne maintains, and so does the entire coordinating board, a listserv. And if you are involved in continuing a career and technical education, you need to be on that listserv. So when the co-board sends out a message, you get it, and it doesn't have to go to someone in your institution and then eventually filter down to you. You need to be receiving those directly from the coordinating board so that you can monitor them. You may, as a dean, be over one area. A vice president of instruction is over all the academic areas. So, you need to keep an eye on what's going on in your area if that's workforce. So, Robin, that concludes my report for today, unless anyone else has some questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. O'Brien. Anybody have any questions for her? I would like to add one other thing, just for the field as well, anybody listening, please find out who your coordinating board liaison is, because this information goes out to them as well, and rattle their chain to be sure that the information is shared with you when these requests for instructional specialists go out. Correct, Mindy? That will go to the coordinating board liaisons, correct?
Yes, it does. CAOs, CIOs, and liaisons. And I'll speak to the listserv. We've debated whether to also send that annual memo, that spring memo, out via the listserv. In the past, we've had an administrator who was reluctant to do that because it has over 2,000 people, and there was the fear of a glut of return emails, questions, and the like. I think it's something we need to revisit again because it is our most immediate access to the field as a whole, because anybody on that list would then get it.
I think that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. I mean, I get a minimum of 2 announcements because of being liaison and the academic officer, and it helps me to see 2 in a row, because it's like, oh, I got to pay attention to this in my email thread, and I'm sure if a 3rd one came through, it'd be even more helpful. But I'm sure a lot of you are in that same situation. But I think that the communication from the coordinating board is vital, and I appreciate both Linda and Catherine's recommendations on that. Appreciate it.
Mindy, can I ask a question? This is Rhonda Dozier.
Go ahead.
So would it be possible for the listserv to go out and not accept replies, but direct them to the link to the comment section?
Sure. Something like that. We're still discussing it. We can tell you that we plan to send that annual request. It will go out from Dr. Jackson. We will send that annual request out the first part of the week following TACRO, and we will be I've asked Dwayne to make sure that the group that he and Catherine train in that opening session are aware that it will be coming out the following week. Good. So we're kind of setting up the expectation, and then we will execute the memo in the days following.
Thank you, Mindy.
Any other questions, comments? Before we get into the subcommittee reports, I wanted to give everybody an update, a general update about the subcommittees. The coordinating board staff, Mindy and Dwayne Shaw and Olga and myself, we attended each of the subcommittee meetings that have occurred since the last WECM Advisory Committee meeting. and discuss the roles of the committee and how it fits into the bigger WECM Advisory Committee. And also from that stemmed some changes and updates to the protocols. And it was a great opportunity for all of us to come together and discuss the roles and what was needed and how important the role of the subcommittees were. And Dwayne Shaw will be giving us a update on the protocol revisions actually next. So take it away, Dwayne.
Okay, Robin, thank you very much. And you've covered a little bit of what I was actually gonna say at the beginning as well, because you know, now having the opportunity that Robin gave me to chair the protocol subcommittee. Thank you, Robin. I did have an opportunity to sit through those other subcommittees, and it did come up with we did come up with quite a few recommendations from those subcommittees, as well as the steering committee that Catherine reported from just before. So I do want to pull this up. I'm going to find this document here, and if you can see that, this is, and I think Dwayne, correct me if I'm wrong, what we decided was there were quite a few recommendations. There was quite a few things that we were going to look at. So potentially this is really just basically a first read. These are not changes that would necessarily be voted on at this meeting. Is that correct, Dwayne?
Yes.
Okay. So so these are, like I said, the majority of these are going to be recommendations that came from the subcommittees, and then also the protocol subcommittee that met after all of those subcommittees met to kind of look at protocols and say, okay, well, this is going to affect some other ones, so we need to look at some things. So what I've done is I've only pulled the pages up that are going to have some changes on them, and this contents page may potentially have some changes on some wording because we may be changing some things with the models, which Catherine talked about earlier. And there's not currently in the protocols a procedures section. So that would be a completely different additional section that may be added at the end. And we'll look at those as we go through. But the first thing, all the subcommittees met, and there were certain things about the special topics and local needs subcommittees in both areas, credit and non-credit, that were looked at. And just to kind of give you, the ones that you're going to see here that have that are redlined through are ones that would just be a straight change. We would change potentially yearly to quarterly on this. Initially, it said that subcommittee would look at the local needs and special topics courses that were submitted yearly. And of course, now we know that we're sending those out, the coordinating board sending those out to the subcommittee quarterly to review. So that would make that a more accurate statement. One of the things that, as I looked through these as well, when you get down to the bullets under the spreadsheet, the first bullet said, currently it reads, whether a new course is developed and recommended. I blacklined through that just mainly as a discussion point, because at the point of review by the subcommittee, they're not actually, if I'm understanding this correctly, they're not actually developing any courses in their review. So should that just read whether a new course is recommended, and then the development is a later process. Also, where I've added, that's highlighted, says current WECM course exists, is not one of the bullets that's currently in the protocols. And I know used to, whenever we reviewed those at a workshop, that was one of the possible boxes that you could check, was there is currently a WECM course that exists that could be used in this area. So so that would potentially be added to that spreadsheet if it's not already there. It may already be there, Dwayne, and I'm just not familiar with the spreadsheet, but it wasn't in the protocols as an option. And then the last statement was changed slightly by adding the statement that says evaluate the trends, or evaluate trend and triggers to determine recommendations for workshops to update courses in a particular area. And that's just a little bit of a wording change to add the terminology trends and triggers so that we know what we're looking for to recommend the workshops or potential updating for any of those courses. Also, the next section is the section that talks about the new and emerging rubrics. So this isn't necessarily a course change, but this is if there is a submission for a special topics or local needs course that has a new rubric on it, because of the shortened time frame that we have, needing to get it to TACRO, have it reviewed, and wanting this review to be complete within 45 days, the statement was added at the end that these would be reviewed as they are received, as opposed to waiting. We can't wait to every quarterly meeting to do it because we only have 45 days turnaround potential time. So the statement was added there that the courses would be sent out to the subcommittee and reviewed as received versus being done on a quarterly basis. So those same changes were added to the non-credit subcommittee as well, as far as the wording changes, and that was the only things that were done there. Now, as you go on through under the standing subcommittees, there was a comment. It was noticed that the WECM comments review subcommittee that we currently have reviewing those comments wasn't a standing subcommittee in the protocols. So this statement would make that subcommittee a standing subcommittee as part of the WECM advisory committees, standing subcommittees, being responsible for the quarterly review of the WECM comments. Subcommittees will report any trends, triggers, or emerging technologies that could result in the need for workshops to update or create new courses. I don't know if that needs to be expanded on, Dwayne, as far as if there is a specific spreadsheet and there are deliverables there. That was just the initial general statement kind of that we came up with for that particular subcommittee.
Right.
Also, yes, go ahead.
I was just say Rob Blair has a good, I guess, method or procedure, and he has developed kind of a review worksheet that he uses. So it doesn't really need to be in the protocols, but just it is there.
The other highlighted statement there you see has been added to what was just general information about the subcommittees. And this is more of a timing thing for the coordinating board staff to be able to prepare for the quarterly WECM advisory committees. And it says all subcommittees should submit results of assigned work to the coordinating board staff 3 weeks prior to each of the WECM advisory committee meetings. And again, it gives an opportunity for the staff to prepare for the meetings as well as any additional review that might need to be done on their part prior to our WECM advisory committees, make sure everything gets on the agendas that need to be there. So that was also a recommendation. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I believe that's critical because it's very difficult, I think, for this committee to review anything that's being sent to us, too close to the meeting, like the day before, so that we get a good handle on what we're reviewing and what we're looking at. So that 3 weeks ahead of time would give the coordinating board time to get the information and then get it out to this advisory committee for review. Because boy, I was scrambling early this morning. So I think that's important.
And I think so, Robin, not only that, give it time in case the coordinator board has some kind of question, they can communicate with the subcommittee chair and then clarify previous to these meetings. I think
good
so.
Point. Good point, Olga.
Excellent. 3 weeks before. Excellent.
Yeah, good.
Okay, the next change was really mainly a wording change that had not been there because the WECM comments subcommittee didn't exist, or at this point still doesn't. So under WECM comments, it just mentions that those comments will be sent to the subcommittee for review versus the entire advisory committee. The next section, this is the page that just shows the triggers. There's no amendment to the triggers or anything that needed to be changed there. but there's a comment in this next section that refers back to the triggers being listed above. And this is the section, and I know Catherine was referring to the different models. And as we talked about the models and as we talked about it through some of the subcommittees and mainly the protocol subcommittee, and we said, you know, what are the true actual differences between these models? This whole section gets marked up really heavily. And I've got another document that shows this without the markings, so we can kind of basically read through it. But I just want to show you kind of the way it's the way it was originally. As Catherine mentioned, the Model 1s were kind of designed, and again, whenever these were written, the electronic modality of being able to do this was nowhere near as efficient as it is now. So whenever we looked at a Model 2, which was a smaller group, a lot of times those we thought of those as being, you know, the virtual version, or in some cases, and I didn't have the joyous opportunity to do any of the actual by phone versions of the facilitating, but I know some of them were literally just a conference call set up whenever they did Model 2s, because there may have only been 1 or 2 colleges involved. So I want to switch my documents here. Let's see if this other one will come up. Okay, did the document change where you can see it?
No, you'll need to stop sharing and start sharing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So go to there. Okay, so this one reads, you know, and again, and then after I sent it to Dwayne, then I started reading through here, and I found mistakes. So this one is without all the marking up within the document, so it's a little easier to read. And basically, it is talking about the workshops in general. And as Catherine mentioned, you know, before, workshops may have had multiple teams involved. And I think what we need to do is exactly what she was referring to, is kind of get the terminology where when we're talking about a workshop, we're talking about potentially we're just talking about the one area that we're evaluating, or courses that are being changed. So it says, you know, the WECM courses are added, reviewed, revised, or archived through the WECM Advisory Committee subcommittee review. Workshops conducted through the WECM maintenance process, which is what we're getting back to with the grant, and or through the programs of study process. Other triggers are outlined above, and that's the mention that I said there on that in Chapter 3. Various modes of delivery for workshops are available to assure that the proper treatment to assure the proper treatment of all courses. Workshops may be held face-to-face or via electronic medium. Industry professionals may be included in any of the workshops. And again, because Zoom and all the other opportunities, Teams and those types of things, we wouldn't necessarily be restricted to 4 colleges or less on the Zoom. It may be a little bit more difficult to handle something larger than that, but it is a possibility we could do workshops, you know, again, via electronic medium. To ensure consideration of all courses, a 1 to 2 day course review workshop is held. At all workshops, a team of instructional specialists are led by a workforce education administrator who serves as a mentor and facilitator. This requires a broad representation of instructional specialists as nominated by instructional administrators. The team members must rank high on the teaching skills and knowledge of the subject areas, be involved in program development and course design, such as the programs of study, remain current in the discipline, and work cooperatively with their colleagues. It says additionally, specialists are selected in consideration of obtaining equal representation from small, medium, and large colleges and from diverse regions of the state. Gender and ethnicity are important in the selection process. So the workshop would normally be triggered by a substantive number of WECM comments, special topics, or local needs submissions for a particular field. or response to a request from the coordinating board for necessary updates. If triggers have identified an emerging or changing technology, industry representatives will be included as part of the development workshop. So that takes what we had for Model 1s and Model 2s. And also we had a Model 3 that mentioned that was sponsored by what was the wording? It was sponsored by a professional organization. Is that right, Dwayne?
Yeah.
You could still do that. I mean, a workshop that was sponsored by a professional organization would still have instructional specialists, would still need to be led by a workforce administrator to serve as a facilitator of some kind. So to call it a Model 3, I don't know that it really made that much difference. The workshops, I think, according to what we're proposing here, all have the same basic format. It may be a little different size. They may have industry representatives. They may have, again, a professional organization as part of that as well. But this would just define workshops in general. So any questions on those so far?
Dwayne, Joe,
yes, sir.
I would just went off. I was going to ask you if you scroll back up just a touch to the paragraph we talked about the face-to-face versus electronic media.
Okay. Let me go back into there.
Okay. Sorry, I should have been quicker on the trigger there.
I'm sorry. I backed out of it quickly there. So it says workshops may be held face-to-face or via electronic medium.
Right. Okay. My question is, the way that reads, it would be face-to-face or via electronic. Is there any possibility it could be blended, where some people might be electronically coming into the workshop while others are face-to-face?
And this is me making an assumption, but if I recall, we would be able to do something like that. I would think, Dwayne, at the coordinating board, in the main meeting room, in that boardroom, where people would be able to potentially zoom in.
Right, and we can kind of define or subdivine electronic medium as including a group of people in one place and individuals at their campuses. But the fact is that it is still an electronic medium.
Right. I guess my question was, if that sentence was an or, like this or that, or an and or this, that, or some blending.
And yeah, we could have some blending. Maybe and or would be appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
Or it could simply stipulate face-to-face, comma, by electronic medium, comma, or a combination thereof. And you would be fully covered.
Okay.
And I have a comment regarding to this one, and that one is going to help us to say by combination, especially because what Dr. Tina Jackson mentioned, that we need to have an industry in these workshops. Is necessary because we need to support the industry with the certifications, and industry needs to know how this is going to help also to us, how we're supporting them, that we are providing the education the students needed, and what kind of certification they will be looking for us to have a better students and a better education and have the students ready for the next generation. I think so. Industry we might be, but I think so. It's very important to have it, not like mine. It must be industry in this kind of workshops. And then that's my personal opinion. That way we can reskilling the students and provide certifications needed outside. Because as a faculty, sometimes experts in the area, we know, but industry is constantly working. They're in the up-to-date work, and industry should to be there. That's my opinion. I don't know, we put in might be, but it should highly recommend it. Industry should be there.
I think we have, that they may attend. And Olga, I see your point, because if you think about your advisory committees, you've got certain businesses at your advisory committee, but you might not have a wider scope across the state. And if we do have some industry representatives in when available and when appropriate in our workshops, it could give us some insight that you might not have from your individual advisory committee meetings. Correct? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes, but also we have it in the state, these kind of meetings, and then we can bring somebody from the different, especially because we can do it online, a combination. Industry is always so busy. We can bring somebody from a different kind of the places. I mean, we can bring somebody from Houston, we can bring somebody from Austin, somebody from Dallas. I mean, that one is going to help us to facilitate to the industry to be part of this committee. And then for that, we need to request the help for everybody in this committee to recommend somebody in the industry in their area. I believe it's highly recommended to have industry, in my personal opinion. As a CT person, it's highly recommended to have it.
Are there any other comments on this section?
Yes.
I do agree about having something about employers. If we're going to be so specific about the facilitators, just add a sentence about the employer representation here. Employer, small, medium, large employers or something should also need to be represented.
Yeah, now,
I agree.
Go ahead. I just like to say, Robin, remember, we were very successful with this with the Cisco courses. And, we got them done, and we had that Cisco one in December, and now look, in March, we already have them in WECM available for us. So this process we have does work. It may seem a little slow, and there are some things. Yeah, we had said that maybe some disciplines maybe need to have a little triggers faster, such as my area, but it does work. So, and we're seeing this with jewelry making. I think we had that thing, and now potential one. So those of you out there that this does work, this process, and we're trying the best as WECM to get it done. And once we do have that triggers, like I said, I know that from our Cisco experience from December now till end of February, where we now have those Cisco courses out there ready to go within less than 2 months time. So, this system does work.
Thank you, James. It does. And I think all the experience that we had with the Cisco was quite different, because we came together and we evaluated things, and then we learned from the team that there was still additional things coming down from the industry that needed to be reviewed, and we kept that team together, and then they came back when it was time to look at the new stuff. So that's a little different than what we had done previously with WECM workshops, but because of the virtual environment, it was easy to get them back together and make it happen. So yes, you're right, James. That was a good example.
I need to jump in here just quickly. I want to remind all those present that as an advisory committee of the coordinating board, we're bound by rule by Open Meeting Act requirements. If you are talking, having part of a conversation with the committee, you need to be visible on screen. That's part of the statute. So
I'm sorry, that's me. I was getting ready to jump off. I have a 10-minute appointment and I got on without my video. I apologize.
I understand, not a problem. Just periodically, we all do it, and I benefit from that reminder too, periodically.
Dwayne, this is Rob Blair.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if you will reference, and Dr. Garrett, please correct me as needed, but on the WECM's protocol manual on the bottom of page 3, we're under WECM comments, and right next to the advisory committee strikeout, it states committee members have 3 days to send comment recommendations. It was my understanding that 3 days were going to be changed to 30 days. Is my understanding correct with that? Or did I misunderstand?
I think that may be a Dwayne Hillard answer
Yeah.
there. And the reason I say it, Robin, and I guess I need to let Dwayne answer though.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Dwayne, I remember where was a discussion.
Yeah, I think we're talking about 3 days for an acknowledgement and then up to 30 days for a response.
That was it. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rob. Okay. Linda, if you're jumping off, I want to say thank you. Maybe she's already gone. Okay.
So Dwayne, do I need to make that more clear that they will be responded to within 3 days from the coordinating board staff, but we'll have 30 days to give them an official answer to their comment?
Right, and you just, I guess, say acknowledge receipt or
okay
within 3 days.
I know that this was prefaced with the fact that this was a first read of this document and that we weren't going to vote on this, but I'd like to make a recommendation that we go back to where you have included the comments subcommittee. And if that wording is okay with everybody, I would really like to get that codified in the protocols during this session, so that subcommittee is a true valid subcommittee of WECM, if at all possible.
Are you asking for a motion?
Let's read it and make sure the wording sounds right first, and then. And if everybody's okay with it, I would like to.
Madam Chair, a point of clarification. Are we looking at the highlighted area that reads WECM Comments Review Subcommittee, that highlighted paragraph?
Yes. Yes.
Gotcha. Not the next one, just that one.
Right.
Very good.
Now, let me go back. It really is this section here, because this is all referring to the WECM Comments Review Subcommittee.
Then I do have a question about the second paragraph.
Okay.
I recognize the need to give co-board folks some time, that 3-week time there. But referring back to your comment, is there a need to say somewhere in there that information is pushed out to this group sometime in advance? I mean, technically here, you could still be getting your thing the day before the meeting,
right?
Because it doesn't specify the throughput of that information.
Well, okay. Now I'm rereading this again. Is the second paragraph related to all subcommittees?
Correct. That paragraph is related to all subcommittees.
Okay. So we just need, I guess, a little bit more of a separation there, because when I was reading it, I was thinking it was that. So yes, the first answer was correct, Joe. Just this first highlighted paragraph is what I need to vote on.
Then, ma'am, I would move that we establish the WECM Comments Review Subcommittee responsible for the quarterly review of WECM comments. The committee will report any trends, triggers, or emerging technology that could result in the need for a workshop to update or create courses. Is that what you needed?
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Do
I have a second?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll second.
Dixon, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is anyone opposed to adding this subcommittee at this point? Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure the WECM Comments Subcommittee appreciates being official.
May I make a recommendation?
Yes, please.
On the first read basis. I hadn't considered the singular form here of the words "the subcommittee chair" in this final paragraph. There is the possibility for misunderstanding that and applying it to the paragraph before it.
Yes.
Could it be changed to say subcommittee chairs will report?
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Are you done, Dwayne?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
It's okay. The rest of the changes, and I'm going to scroll down, refer to this procedures section that I mentioned that didn't exist before. And there was some work by Dr. Garrett and a work group, if I'm not mistaken, according to Dwayne, that worked on some of these procedures, and these were documents that were that came from that work group that I've included in a possible procedures area. Now, I'm not going to read through all of these. I think, again, this is kind of a first read thing, but there are the procedures for what is going to happen within the local needs and special topics subcommittee for semester credit hours, what that process also looks like on the non-credit side, because that side includes our folks from TACE that are evaluating those. And there is a procedures on the workshops that kind of gives a general overview of how they're triggered and how and what the reactions are to those workshops during a workshop. If you would read through those, again, I don't think we need to try to read through them all today, since this is really a first read. And there's a lot of things to kind of unpack through that part of it. Take the time to read through that so that we can get some clarification. Now, I did have, I guess, a question to Dr. Garrett and Dwayne, potentially as part of the special topics and local needs on both of these for credit and non-credit. The areas that I have in red, again, it mentions recommendations of a new course, and then it says utilize authorized new course form. Was that the form that we used to use to write a new course? And
That's
if
right.
So, and again, if so, should that be a part of what was going on within the subcommittee's review of these? Now, if we were at a workshop and we were reviewing special topics and local needs, and we had the instructional specialists, that's when we would have normally utilized that form to write the course. So I don't know if that needed to stay or not. That was one of the reasons why I had that highlighted in red.
Yeah, I think these procedures were meant mainly for a team at a workshop writing new courses. So in this case, we would take that out.
Okay. And then the other question is, it says all courses will be uploaded in the WECM database in August of each year. And the way things have been done recently, and as quickly as we've gotten things turned around, I know there have been some things added throughout the year. Do we want to have that as a target for each of these to be inputted or the changes to be done, or are we doing them more quickly than that, or do we need to leave that in as it is?
No, and again, that was kind of a relic from the time when we had all the workshops done during the summer. But we would go ahead and take that out because we would be updating the database throughout the year as the changes are recommended.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure before I made those changes, since all this had come out of a previous work group. So, and that is all I have, Dr. Garrett.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. Dwayne Hiller, does that change the 1.5 year availability of courses that are archived at all? If we do things into the database as they come, how would that impact the use of courses for the traditional in the past 18 months past the August deadline or the August implementation? Is that
right?
Something you need to consider?
I'll need to see if we have anything in the protocols about the schedule. I know at some time we had talked about any changes made after January 1st will be implemented the following, or will expire a year after the following August.
Mm-hmm.
And anything I guess up through, so I guess it's like January 1st to December 31st would go, I'm sorry, January 1st to August 31st would go to the following August 31st.
Okay. So we might,
And
yeah.
I guess there are rare occasions where we have September through December, that those would go to the.
I have a question. This is working for you with this time? That time is working for you and is provide to all the colleges enough time to have the courses in the system without expiring. I think so. If this is how it's working and it's working perfectly, I think we shouldn't to be changing. We should to keep the same times that you have doing. That's my recommendation. Why we have to change something that is working?
Right, and I believe we had this statement, something that was a minimum of 18 months.
Okay.
And so if it was September through December, then it would be 2 years
Right.
before it, because it'll be the following academic year or the end of the following academic year.
Yeah, to give everybody time to change their catalogs and do everything that they need to do to keep their institutions up to date. Okay.
Right.
I just want to make sure that us updating as we go throughout the year isn't going to mess that up for institutions, because catalogs are still done at this particular time. And by us updating throughout the year, we don't want to throw anybody off and their catalog being correct.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I do need to ask that we do go back to one other thing, and I apologize for missing the opportunity for us to vote on the recommendation from the committee, the grant, the renovation grant, as far as the workshops go. We do need, as a WECM advisory committee, to vote on that screen. And Catherine, you are still on. Could you show that screen that has the tentative or the workshop recommendations, so that as a committee we can vote on that?
Yes, give me 1 second. My apologies, I got kicked off. The internet went down, but we're coming back.
All right.
These are the sort of things that are supposed to happen on a Monday, not on a Wednesday.
That's quite all right. We started out with some technical difficulties, so it's to be expected, right?
Okay, that's not it. Let's see where it went. Here we go. Okay, share screen. Can you see it now, Robin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, there you're welcome. So the proposal was to move clusters 3 and 12 to another year, with the exception of those programs within the clusters that need to be reviewed. And that would be I wrote it down, RTVB and home security, HMSY, I think is theirs.
Okay, and I guess to clarify, it wasn't Homeland Security. And I don't know, Rob, do you remember which? I think it was either the fire or the police. I think it was the fire
I think it's or
Fire protection, okay.
So really what the motion could be is just to make sure is that we move those with the opportunity, should any triggers come up, to bring specific rubrics back up to this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I do. I motion to approve the work timeline with the exception to those areas that they have a trigger.
Second the motion.
Who seconded?
Mary Adams.
Mary Adams. Thank you, Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed to this motion? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Catherine, for bringing
You're
it back
welcome.
up. And I apologize for not following through with a vote on this before.
Oh, that's okay.
I dismissed this portion of it. Okay. We have been at this almost 2 hours. Do we need a 5-minute break, or do you want to trudge on?
I was just asking people on staff if we have a break slide. Committee members, do you need a break?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Some of you are kind of laughing as you say that. I think that we really do need a break. I recommend then that we do break for 5 minutes. We will work on getting a slide up. I ask that each of you, while you are breaking, please turn off your screen and mute your mics. Okay. We have 5 minutes then. Do you want us to convene, Robin? Again, it's straight up 12.
Perfect. Straight up 12. Thank you. Linda, did you say you had to go somewhere else? Are you not going to be on? Oh, she's talking to somebody else. Linda, did you say you were going to have to?
I was already gone. That's why I turned off my video, and it was at 11:30.
Oh, okay.
TWC Skills Development Fund Grant.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were leaving at the end or I got it. Thank you.
I'm here. I'm here till the end.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Linda, do you have some time this afternoon? I need to pick your brain about that SCF grant.
Today, no, but tomorrow I do. Today I have our workforce council. Whoop.
One day, maybe this week, or well, tomorrow's Thursday. That's it.
I'd love to. It's because it's changed again in a good way. It's a 5-page application instead of a 22-page application.
Oh, just to make the note, you are live on broadcast.
I'll email you.
Okay, thank you all. We are reconvening. I believe people are coming back. Okay, moving on. We've just finished the recommendations of the WECM Protocol Subcommittee and the information presented as a first review. And we'll move on to the discussion of possible action on recommendations made by the Course Review Subcommittee. I think that's Cindy Griffith.
It is, thank you. The Course Revision and Archival Committee considered and unanimously supports the following 2 items. The first is that the revised courses for JLRY be updated in the WECM, and this was in support of the changes at a recent course review workshop. The second is the recommendation that computer-aided jewelry design courses, those were proposed, and that they be added to the WECM as well. This also was recommended in the workshop.
And just to clarify, these recommendations were presented at the September 23rd WECM meeting, and they were also emailed out last night. So if you need to review them again, let me know and I can put them on the screen, but otherwise, these are the ones that you reviewed previously.
Does anybody need to see them before we vote? No. I call for a motion to approve the recommendation of the subcommittee.
I make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the subcommittee.
Seconded.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Is that your final report, the end of your report?
That is, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to discussion of possible action on recommendation made by the WECM Comments Review Subcommittee.
Yes, ma'am. This is Rob Blair. And I'd like to clarify that on the previous recommendation on April 30th, 2020, the WECM Comments Subcommittee recommended the RTVB, but also the FLMC rubrics through WECM workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in regards to March 31st meeting today, WECM Comments received one comment from Collin College, who reported the Texas Commission on Fire Protection has changed the certification for fire inspector. On the WECM website, it states that FIRT Plan Examiner 1 course is one in a series of 3 courses required for fire inspector certification 1, and that this is no longer true, and Plan Examiner is now a standalone certification. So therefore, through WECM evaluation of WECM website, all subcommittee members recommend courses should be reviewed by instructional specialists to ensure WECM course descriptions, learning outcomes, and contact hour ranges meet Texas Commission on Fire Protection certification requirements. So therefore, the WECM comment subcommittee recommends courses be evaluated through a WECM workshop. Also, through evaluation of previous meeting comments, a committee member recognized a potential workshop trigger for sterile processing technician. Maybe a trigger, and this recommendation or this information has been submitted to the Special Topics Local Needs Subcommittee to be researched.
Okay.
Also, let me add that I continue to emphasize the importance of WECM comments and encourage members from institutions to submit comments as needs arise.
Thank you, Rob. So are you asking for us to vote on the fire science recommendation that become a workshop? And the other one you're saying has been passed on to the special topic local need for further review from that for the sterile processing, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And our recommendation for the subcommittee is that FIRT be part of the WECM workshop, which looks like to me on schedule will be 2021 on an as needed basis. Because the career cluster 12 outside of recognized triggers has been moved to 2022.
Right, but we could move this one up, that one rubric up to 2021. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we are asking then for a motion to have the fire science courses reviewed in 2021, correct?
Correct.
Do I have a motion?
This is Dwayne Shaw. I would make the motion to review those fire science courses in 2021.
I second. This is Olga Valeria.
I'm sorry?
I second.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Dwayne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I should have asked if there was any discussion first, but any discussion on that? All right. Any opposed? Motion passes. I think Catherine is still on, so we can probably put that on the tickler list there.
And actually, it's matching for what Catherine showed to
Right.
us.
Yeah.
Right?
You just identified our pilot program for the new process.
All right. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And anything else, Rob?
Oh, ma'am, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. All right, on to the special topic local need course review subcommittee on the credit one. We'll do that first.
My report is that we met this month, March. We met in March, and then we are going to meet again in April. And we are looking on the courses that Dwayne sent it to us to review it. However, we have also the starting program that we noticed some community colleges are requesting to have a workshop. However, the information that we have it in that short time, we need to check it out and review a little bit more. Like you said, Robin, we have it last night, but we need to review it. But however, we need to address that is a need there. And after the subcommittee meet together, we can provide to you a recommendation regarding to this workshop.
Thank you, Olga. Yeah, what we saw with the sterile processing, there was a comment, and then we noticed that there were numerous colleges that had submitted some local need to it, but there also was two different routes of the sterile. One was in pharmacology and one was in surgical type sterile processing. So we need to look at that. Her team needs to look at it a little further before we can make a recommendation to WECM Advisory as for the need for a workshop, but it looks like there might be some sort of a trigger happening because of the multiple institutions submitting local need in that area.
And also to check it out, like you mentioned, the CIP codes, because they are using a different CIP codes for these, the same courses, but different CIP codes. And we need to maybe to make a recommendation as a committee to see how we can address or ask for suggestions, you know, but it has to be through the whole group. Yeah.
Yes, very good. Anything else from your subcommittee, Olga?
No, nothing else. That's conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. The TACE representative is not here, but Christina sent in information that Dwayne Hiller is going to report on for the special topic local need non-credit subcommittee.
Right. Look it up now. Okay, so these are the courses that were submitted by the CE Special Topics Local Need subcommittee. And again, these were emailed, I think, yesterday.
It looks like from when I was looking at through this, Dwayne, it looked like the majority, they said to just leave it as either a special topic or a local need, but there seems to be, as we've discussed before, quite an influx of courses in the artificial or I guess the unmanned vehicles area for CE. Were they making a recommendation that
Yeah, and in this case, they are recommending, recommending a course review to add the course when we can't really address adding it to a certification program, but they're recommending that we have a course review on and that there are different rubrics, but it's the unmanned vehicle and the I can't remember what that acronym is for, but it's basically the drone technology. And there are several courses submitted in that topic. So yeah, so the recommendation is to have a workshop on the unmanned vehicle.
Olga, have you seen special topic and local need on the credit side for unmanned vehicles?
We saw, but not quite a lot like this, like CE. Because we have to keep in mind for credit that when college submitted the courses, they need to go from the accreditation. And then it's going to take them a little bit more time to the CE. We saw, but not like quite like that. That's what I'm really surprised that. And I can see that maybe in the future, especially in credit, we are going to see more drone courses. Yeah.
So do we think this is one of those emerging technologies that we need to get ahead of?
It could be, yes. But remember, even a drone is a robotics. And then I don't know, because what they are using UAVCO, which one is the kind of manufacturing and special drones that they use. But drones are robotics. Maybe in the future, if we do a workshop, maybe we need to also to include that one, drones and robotics. That's for what can I see it, for my experience that I have it. But yeah, if we wanted to be proactive, we should do a workshop on drones. Yep.
I don't recall I wish I had done a screenshot of what Catherine had up. I don't recall where robotics would be in the schedule.
Robotics is part of the manufacturing, but I don't remember to see the robotics, the specific words on robotics on Catherine.
Would it be STEAM? And STEAM this is Andrew Gregory. STEAM was in the second year, if it's under STEAM, robotics.
Yeah.
And I guess the unmanned vehicle systems operation is what the acronyms or the rubric stands for. And I don't know whether, it seems to me that that rubric is not about the making of the drone, but rather the operations. So maybe the other courses that Olga's speaking of are really under the robotics.
So you're right, Andrew. This is an operation rubric. You are right. That's an operation. When I said it's the drone itself is the operation drone. But let's go to the workshop to decide what they wanted to do it. Right? That's the best, to have the expert in that area to do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what, Dwayne Hiller, do you know what we should recommend here? Is there, I don't know what, if there's just, if this is one school that submitted all of these, or if there's multiple schools. If
I think
you
we have
think this is
several.
the-
Let me get back over there. So we have some from Austin.
Oh, where'd they go?
Yeah, sorry, they're mostly from Austin, but there are other. Might be some more recent from other colleges.
I'm wondering if this is a skill development grant, or maybe they are planning to develop a CE program. That's what I wonder, because it's only one college.
Yeah, look.
It looks like it's a skill development grant. I don't know, but that's my impression.
Well,
it sounds as though, I'm interrupting, I know, I'm sorry, Robin. It sounds as though this committee needs more information before it can determine whether or not a workshop is needed.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
And so perhaps it needs to be considered in June. What do you need from staff in order to bring clarity to this?
I think there was a good point made by Andrew about this being operational versus development. And so we would need to see if there are other courses, both on the credit local need and the CE local need as far as operations go. I have the feeling that he's correct, that most of the robotics, and Olga's correct, and I could be wrong, but most of the robotics courses are either covering it, or there might be local need in the robotics area for this. But yes, we do need more information. Does the WECM Advisory Committee agree that we need more information before we can proceed?
Yes, ma'am. We need more information.
Yes.
Agree.
Okay. So for now, leaving these as a special topic or a local need is what we are recommending.
Okay. And just want to see if there are any other areas. Like I said, I think most of them are recommending leaving it as local need.
Sounds good.
So yeah, we'll revisit that in June.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dwayne. Thank you for stepping in and handling that for us. I appreciate it. Okay. It says the next one is discussion and possible action and recommendation made other subcommittees of the WECM Advisory Committee. Did I overlook anybody?
Well, and again, that's really kind of a catch-all.
Yeah.
There are the others.
Okay. Future agenda items and resources required for the next meeting.
And that's kind of a question for you all. If there are any other reports or data or anything that you would like us to prepare in advance in preparation for the next meeting.
Okay, anybody?
Dr. Garrett, if between now and time before the next meeting, if you have any comments or suggestions for the changes that were sent out for the protocols in wording, I took the notes on what was mentioned here, but again, on that procedures section, if you read through those, if you have any questions or comments on any changes so that we can have those in place before the next meeting for a potential vote at that point.
How do you want it to have it in case that we have some kind of recommendation? Do you want it to have it for us in red, or you want it to do a Google document? That way everybody's not changing every time that we send it to you. Because we need to have it 3 weeks before that we meet, right?
Yeah, I guess I would recommend that we make the changes that have been recommended at this meeting and then send that out to the committee and then ask you to send in any just email back any comments that you might have.
Sounds good.
I have a, I don't know, I think this fits here. As Amazon did a few years ago in working with a few state community colleges, and from that became a coordinating board project for developing the web services statewide program of study. Intel is now doing the same for artificial intelligence. So how that I feel that affects this committee is, I don't know if if there are rubrics in place today that will cover the machine learning and artificial intelligence specific courses that Intel has developed and is working towards.
This is James Chigwood. I remember, and maybe Olga can bring up, I remember seeing some, I don't know if it was Austin Community College or someone bringing up credit courses on AI and machine learning. And so that's actually a good point. And that, you know, that was there. And I don't remember what our result was, but I do remember specifically seeing those kind of courses with data science, artificial intelligence. And that was, I think, last year sometime. And so I don't know what the status is of that. So I will defer to what that was. But yeah, that's actually a good question because, again, without me saying IT, everyone knows IT needs to change. And those Amazon Web Services, how is that going to be different from the cloud? And I think Robin knows, she was there that day, almost 3 years ago now, that's going to be something, again, that we may have to get one of those topics again. And I think, Linda, you make a good point. Yeah.
So if anybody on the subcommittee can take a look at that and bring forward a report that might be an emerging technology that we need to consider as a workshop, that would be very, very helpful. Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Linda. Thank you, James. Okay. Our next future meeting dates. What, I think we planned those out last time, but what did we say? Let's see.
I don't remember.
So we basically scheduled today's meeting and June 23rd. And that's as far as we got.
So we are scheduled for June 23rd. Do we want to try to schedule the next one after that so that we have that on our calendars?
Yes.
So typically, Dwayne, when would our next one be?
Let me double check. It's usually around September or I think usually
September.
Yes.
September 20? What about September 20? I mean, it will have a space over there, Dwayne.
The 22nd be the Wednesday, you mean?
The 22nd or the 20 on Monday, whatever day that you want.
I think were we trying to keep them on Monday? I mean, on Wednesdays?
And then
I have 700 retirees. For some reason, I got in charge of my retirees luncheon for Lone Star College. Maybe because they're hoping I'm going to be one. But it's on that day, and we had to reschedule it from 2 months ago.
How about September 29th? What about everybody's schedule for that date?
This is James. Are we going to assume that we're not going to be meeting in Austin for the remainder of the year? Is that a pretty good assumption, or we're not going to be back in Austin this year at all at the coordinating board? Is that a good assumption, Mindy?
You know, you can't say yes and no about that right now. I would say, to be on the cautious side, let's plan a September meeting as a virtual meeting.
Okay.
Does anybody have a conflict with September 29th?
I actually do, yes.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, so
What about the 15th? It gets it after the Labor Day week and after schools have started. That's pretty close to our, depending on what day you start, that may be pretty close to census dates. But
if we can carve time out, anybody, is September 15th look okay?
Madam President, may I ask a quick question?
Of course.
When does the new committee start? And because I may not be representing TACT anymore, so I'll have another person in their calendar involved. So what, does that start in September?
Mindy and I were just doing some text messages back and forth about that. Mindy, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, new terms start September 1. Terms that are ending end August 31st. We standardized that, I believe, when we established the advisory committee. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dwayne.
No, that's right.
Okay, all right.
So the existing committee still meets for the June meeting, but the new committee members will come on in the September. Yeah. So we'll hope that the TACTI representative will be able to join us. You can't plan that out until you actually have somebody. So are we looking okay for September 15th?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't hear any
Yes.
issues. All right. Good recommendation, Joe. So our next meeting is June 23rd, and the following will be September 15th at 10 a.m. Central Time, Olga.
So I got one more quick question. So how do we know if I know you had asked if we wanted to be on the committee again for another year. So how do we know we're going to get notified again since you said September 1st, are we going to get notified, or how is that going to, either way, or how is that going to work?
If you are scheduled to, if your term is expiring, you are notified by the coordinating board and asked if you are willing to re-up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And basically, if you said you are willing to, then we have added you on to the next
okay.
roster.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
if you
Actually,
said, James, if you said yes, your fate is sealed.
Okay. I think I did in the last meeting, so I'll just go with that. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the thing here, and I think you're committed.
Yeah, he said yes, I remember. I write it down.
Well, I didn't know if we had a formal, I can't remember now all these things. Okay. Thanks.
No, we invite continuation. There is no formal reappointment. So you're good.
Very good.
Oh, and I guess to clarify, if you pay attention to the coordinating board quarterly meetings, in the agenda item,
yes,
there will be a list of everybody who was renewed. So there's a group of the renewed, and then there's a group of the new nominations.
That's right. Thank you for that clarification. So if you ask, please, to continue to serve, we put your name right on that list.
And it is voted on by the Texas
By the
Taxation
coordinating
Board.
Yes, and
So
it's
you're
quarterly
official.
meeting. Yes.
All right. Anything else for the good of the committee? Anybody have any other comments before we adjourn? Thank you very much. This has been a wonderful meeting. I think we've accomplished a lot. And I know a lot of the work is being done now that is so important to us sustaining the WECM. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you in various meetings and emails, but definitely on June 23rd. Hope everybody stays healthy and well and get all of your programs, your classes back on campus, right?
Yes.
We're all working toward that, aren't we? Y'all have a great time. Bye-bye.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did everything go okay?
I think everything went famously. This was an orderly meeting. It was productive. Robin, kudos to you for today's meeting.
Well, I feel bad skipping over things and having to go back and forth, but
Mm.
yeah, whatever.